It's seafood the old-fashioned way in the newly renovated Don's Seafood Restaurant in Metairie. The same Landry family that served your great-grandfather is still here today, serving your family with over 80 years of tradition and taste with gumbo, boiled seafood, fresh fish, charbroiled oysters, great seasoning, and more at Don's Seafood in Metairie. And a pleasant good evening to you, and welcome to another edition of sportsNOLAtv from Don's Seafood. We're on Veterans Boulevard between Clearview and Transcontinental in Metairie. It's where you need to be as well. And we're glad you've joined us this evening to talk about any number of topics, including the NFL and the Saints, also talking about the Pelicans, talking about crowd control, and many more items with our outstanding panelists who provide you with some insight each and every week, starting with the man with a hat, former St. Torrance Small. Torrance, good evening to you.
How we doing, Ken? And hello to all out there. Well, the season is over with, Mardi Gras is coming up, but before then we have Valentine's Day, and I like to send a love, a big love, I love you, to my wife. Our 16th anniversary is coming up Friday. I know we shoot on Mondays, so I just want to let her know, I love you, baby, and let's keep going.
I'm touched. Of course, some people would say I've been touched for years, but that's another story. So that's very nice. Well done, my friend. Appreciate it. Brian Allee-Walsh of sportsNOLA.com brings you something enlightening at this point as well. Brian, good evening to you.
Doctor, it's very nice to be with you guys. Go to your pocket and give your wife something that you can spend on. I'd like to just send along my heartfelt congratulations to the Schlesinger family, Mark and Tony. They have adopted a little girl by the name of Nola Ann that they brought her into their home about 6 months ago out of the Safe Haven program out of Louisiana, which is a wonderful program. Google it, Safe Haven. But anyway, congratulations to Mark and Tony Schlesinger. They have the child that they've wanted all their lives.
Well done, and Coach Les doing a great job as that basketball coach at UNO, where they're competing extremely well in the Southland Conference. You can read Lenny Van Gilder's blog about that at sportsNOLA.com. Hall of Famer Rickey Jackson will impart some words of wisdom as well now. Rickey, good evening to you.
Man, since you're graduating to a new family, I congratulate Pat Swilling for, he adopted a son this week, and him and Robin, that was great, just to see people that add a new addition to their family, and especially at their age, adding a nice young kid to their family. You always take your hat off to guys when they do that.
Yes.
I want to congratulate all the people you just mentioned. That's good enough for me. Good news abounds here today. Good people doing good things. And we aim to do some good things as well when we return in a moment to talk about your New Orleans Saints and where they're going financially and personnel-wise as sportsNOLAtv continues from Don's Seafood, where the charbroiled oysters are waiting for you. So is the gumbo. What brew? Interesting note on the 27th pick overall, Robert Meacham, a serviceable player. I think that's the right word. Certainly not a great player, certainly not a bust, but a serviceable player who's given the Saints some good years and some good moments. And they're hoping to get a player of that magnitude, if not one better, in 2014 with the 27th selection, if they choose to keep it and they make the pick. And I'm Ken Trahan, and this is sportsNOLAtv from Don's Seafood. Glad you've joined us to talk about the Saints and their offseason, and it's pretty interesting. Over the weekend, Sean Payton making some comments to a national service and Fox about how it's going to be difficult to make the numbers work and to keep Jimmy Graham without having to endure some pain elsewhere. We all know that already. I guess, Brian, the biggest question is where that pain is going to be endured, because clearly to get Jimmy Graham on the dotted line, they're going to have to make some moves and cut some cap space by cutting some other players.
Absolutely. The numbers, they're over the cap by $11 to $13 million, depending on what service you read. There's about 5 or 6 players that they probably could take a look at and you see them on the screen right here. To me, Will Smith is a no-brainer. I love Will. He's done a great job here. That money and his production just don't match on this club. But you can go down the list here. Now, does this mean that all of these guys are going to be released? Not necessarily, but these guys know there's ways to get money out of this, and these are 6 prime examples. Really, when you look at their roster, gentlemen, there's not other places to get a lot of money other than not re-signing current free agents. These are the best 6 to go.
Yeah, so looking at this list, only one I can see Pierre Thomas right now, you know, basically coming back, but I think you can reconstruct some of these guys or release and re-sign, perhaps. That'd probably be an option they can do with some of these guys, but they can't do without some of these guys and continue to have a great team, because we still have the nucleus of the team still together.
Well, you know, basically, if you get rid of these guys, some of these guys on the list, and don't count against the cap, I mean, you're free to let all of them go. Well, I mean, Pierre, you know, you can bring him back and restructure his contract, but the rest of them, if I can free that money up, we need that money real bad. I try to get me some better players.
You know, Kenny, when you look at that list again, you know, you can release some guys, and these guys know this, you can release guys on rosters and you won't have to necessarily replace them. But say a Jabari Greer. Now, you can, regardless of what you think of Jabari Greer, he's a starting corner on this team. And unless they have him on their roster, another guy that can replace him, they're going to have to go. They're going to have to go find another player. And so it's kind of addition and subtraction, and that's where they are at this stage right now.
I think each one's an individual consideration based upon the need in that specific area. I think when you're talking about Will Smith, I agree, that's a no-brainer. I think he's a Saints Hall of Famer.
I do too.
Ryan's on that committee, and Rickey is a Saints Hall of Famer, and the guy's had a great career here. I think when you look at Broderick Bunkley, you'd like to have him back because he is a big space eater and a tough guy, but at that price, there's no way, and they do have young players there, so that's not likely. Roman Harper, as I've said many times, either he or Jenkins won't be back next year. One will, one won't, in all likelihood. The most intriguing name on there is Lance Moore, because he's a Drew Brees favorite. He's a dependable guy, but he's getting up there. And he's small, and they have a couple of young guys that may be able to fill the bill, so to speak. So that's going to be an intriguing one. That could be one where they ask him to take a pay cut and he comes back. You mentioned Jabari Greer. That to me is one to watch because he's coming off of a serious injury, but that's a position of need. And the other thing about Greer is they love him in the locker room. He's a first-class guy and a tremendous influence on younger players. And because he's 31 going on 32, he might not have a lot of value in the open market. They might be able to get him to come back at a lesser price. As for Pierre Thomas, I think that he's a valuable commodity. Sean Payton values him, and again, they might be able to keep him, but only at the right price, Torrance.
Yes, everything like you say, I think it depends on the price and how much space they're trying to free up. Because we do have some guys out there that they want to sign, Jimmy Graham being the main one, and we want to come in and fill in some needs as well. You know, I know we heard a little bit on the offensive line. We'd like to get some offensive linemen in there. We'd like to get another cornerback or two in there to bring in, and perhaps a receiver, somebody who can do a punt return or kickoff return.
Jimmy Graham's the big piece in all of this, obviously, Brian. So what do you expect with this situation? You expect it to be protracted? You expect it to go down to the wire and get him signed, or do you think they're going to have to tag Jimmy Graham when you look at who he is and what he's accomplished?
Well, there's no doubt his value to this team, but you know, I suspect they're going to tag him and continue to try to negotiate up until that deadline in July, I believe it is, Kenny. So you know, I can't see him escaping because of money. His value here, you think he's valuable here? Let him get in the open market. Then you're really going to find a battle. So the no-brainer here is to tag him and continue to try to negotiate. But if Jimmy Sexton, his agent, if they're dead set on trying to argue that he's a wide receiver and to negotiate him as a wide receiver, it definitely can become a protracted situation, Kenny.
Rickey, he'll be back one way or the other.
Well, he'll be back one way or the other, but you want a guy happy. I mean, I'm the type of guy, if you don't want to be here, man, I get rid of you. I don't want to make a guy be on my team if he don't want to be here, because the team first, and that's what I always feel about football. So if Jimmy Graham want to be here, and we'll work a deal out. If he don't want to be here, I trade him and get me something for him and move on.
Yeah, I don't think the thing that he doesn't want to be here. I think he want to be here is at what price. And I think the thing is going to come down to the price. I think you want to be, you definitely don't want to leave a Hall of Fame quarterback to be like a Drew Brees that can get you the ball. You definitely don't want to use that. I just think it's going to come down to what price, what the Saints willing to pay and what he's willing to take.
Well, the Saints are not cheap, Brian. They've proven that.
No, they
will pay.
And a lot of times they get a bad rap from people. But remember, you don't, like Rick says, you don't want these negotiations to become contentious. And the deal is that Jimmy Graham does have some shortcomings, all right? He was taken out of some games. Was that all his fault? We could debate that. You know, they do need some outside help to take some of the pressure off of him up the seam. But so there's ways to get around this. You just don't want him to not feel wanted. And I promise you, the organization will make him feel wanted.
And Ricky, where he lines up in terms of formation shouldn't make any difference about how he gets paid.
Yeah, I mean, but if you consider him lining up wide out, you know, his agent trying to use that to his advantage. But my whole thing is, you make sure a guy want to be here first. And if a guy tell you he want to be here, then you work the contract out. And I think that's what the Saints do, because a lot of times guys don't want to be here. You see basketball, football. I mean, even you take a case like Chris Paul, he's ready to move on. Some guys just be ready to move on. So if a guy really want to move on, it's hard to deal with him. So you have to make sure that he want to be here.
Ryan, one final point. Is it conceivable that both Harper and Jenkins would be gone?
Wow. You've got Kenny Vaccaro. You know, they lost
To New England.
Yeah, and I know that they got
Raphael Bush.
Yeah,
Raphael Bush.
They got Raphael Bush, but they lost Kudus to Detroit. Yeah. Okay, now there's a kid that I like, but Kenny, it's one of those things. If you lose both of them, yeah, I could definitely see
it too. That's why I'm asking.
But you know, you're going to have to replace them because they don't necessarily have that depth on the roster. So you're going to have to come back and replace them.
And you're going to hope that there's some free agents out there that you know you can go grab, or somebody in the draft you know you can grab before you make a move like that.
And looking at Seattle secondary, man, they got a lot of 4th, 5th round picks that pan out to be great football players. So it don't always take, you know, like the Saints got the 27 pick. Man, you can get that up and get to 3 or 4 picks down the road, and you can find some great football players.
When we return in just a moment, we'll take a look around the NFL at free agent possibilities and where the Saints' needs will lie in the draft as Sports NOLA TV continues from Don's Seafood. 80 years. This family-owned restaurant getting it done, fresh, best. Doesn't get any better than those specials, does it? Surf and turf, boiled shrimp, seafood platter. Just keep going. It just doesn't get any better with a price of under $17 per night. That's dinner, folks. And it's all you can consume, which is music to the ears of Brian Allee-Walsh. So they were waiting to see who I was going to single out here. So we all know that Brian's a whipping boy, so we're going to take care of Ricky.
Go ahead.
We had to fix him up, Ricky. Had to make sure, automatic. Sports NOLA TV continues from Don's Seafood in Metairie. Ken Trahan with you. And, of course, we detail the Saints' top free agents and what they're going to do and what they might do and who they might keep and who not. Let's talk about their needs and look around the NFL at free agency as we speak. And you're talking about great needs for the Saints. So, Brian, we'll start with you. From the standpoint of needs on the defensive side of the football for the New Orleans Saints, where are you shopping?
Cornerback would be my first get. Depending on these guys that come back, and the moves that they make, safety. I've always felt that they've needed a linebacker. You look at some of these guys who can help. Captain Munnerlyn can help. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. But here's the problem that the Saints have is that they're really strapped. Okay, even with the monies that they're going to free up or the cap room that they free up, they're still not going to be able to operate at a high level and seek more than maybe one marquee player at the most. They're looking for second-tier players, in my opinion, because of what they can afford. And these are positions you know, they can go find a Keenan Lewis. They didn't pay an arm and a leg for him, a guy like him.
But we you know,
A Walter
Drew Brees
guys
can
like
reconstruct.
this.
We can reconstruct some of these guys'
Absolutely,
contracts to
sure.
help out as well. You know, so those some of the things out there. He did call out and said he'd like for Jimmy Graham to be back. Hey, this is a great opportunity to help out the team right now. Reconstruct the contract. That's one way of freeing up some money as well. But they had a couple good guys on that list that I think could come in and help us definitely at cornerback. I think that's something we need. I think we need a shutdown corner. I think Keenan Lewis, he did a great job this year. He played the #1 receiver. He did a great job. I think we can bring in another solid first team guy that can come and help. I think it help us out a lot.
But I tell you what, you know, looking at that list, a lot of those guys old and beat up, you know, and they got slower. You know what I mean? And that's what you don't want. You don't want to go try to get somebody who's damaged good. You got to get these young boys who can run big and strong and fast and can play football and do like Seattle. Teach these guys your system and let these guys fill in and be great football players in the future.
I think you have to be selective, and I think Ricky's 100% right. When you're talking about cornerback, when you go shopping, shop for a guy that's 27 or younger. Don't go shopping for a guy that's 27 or older, because they've got tread off the tire, and speed and hits mean everything at that position. Therefore, don't go spending a ton of money on a veteran player at cornerback just to get well. Keenan Lewis was a perfect pickup. Several reasons. One, how many years he was in the league. He's not even hit his prime yet. He's about to get there in terms of peaking out, but he's not there yet. Two, he still has some tread on the tire. Three, he wanted to be here, as Ricky suggested earlier about you want guys that want to be here. Four, it's his hometown, so clearly that one paid off and made all the sense in the world, Brian.
You know, when you talk shutdown corner, it's a great phrase, and you want to get that kind of player. But shutdown corners don't come cheap. And any time that they enter a market, you're going to have so much competition. And I just don't think that they can go get a shutdown corner because they can't afford it. They need players at other positions. And Sean Payton did a great job of laying this out for fans. That was a purposeful statement that he made. Yes, they want Jimmy Graham back, but you can't expose your whole roster to try and get a tight end, okay? He means a lot to this club, but you can't expose your roster. You can't.
We did it for Ricky Williams.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, and what happened to them? They're all gone.
How'd that work out? I guess a great example of what we're talking about is Darrell Revis.
Yeah.
A perfect example. Yes. And I'm not saying he's not a good player. He's still a good player, but he's not a great player, or he wasn't, and you just spent a fortune on this guy and locked him up long term, Torrance, and obviously, again, where are you going to spend that money now that you've done that?
Yes, I think we have to be very selective of who we bring in, make sure guys fit our system, and again, what Ricky said, that they want to be here. It's just because a guy is negotiating, you know, some guys, when they get a difficult negotiation, they think that the team don't want them. No, it's just the money is not right.
It's business too. All right, another position that Brian identified as a need is defensive tackle for the Saints. So Ricky, I want to address this first as we take a look at some potential free agent defensive tackles that you can pursue. We know Jerry and Babineau because of who they played for. And B.J. Raji, a space eater, huge guy, but can he stay healthy? So you look at that list, Ricky. Do you see defensive tackle as a need for the Saints? And if so, is there anybody there that might make sense?
Well, I mean, we got other guys, you know, that position that we need before we mess with them. I mean, you need a couple more linebackers, you need 2 good safeties, and you need a couple good cornerbacks. So, you know, they need a couple things on there before. They got the defense line played pretty good this year. You got to give those guys credit. They held the team up. They were the best on the team for the defense. So the other position that we need.
Yeah. Well, Henry Melton brings a high price tag. I like Paul Soleil from Miami, and I like the 2 guys from Seattle. I mean, they've got a winning pedigree now, and I think one of them can be had.
Well, I like what Ricky said. I think we have other needs. We were solid. Our strongest point on our strongest position on defense was our front. Our front was strong. I don't think we have to go out our way right now to change anything in the front. I think we need linebackers, safeties, and corners. I think that's more where the focus should be right now. But our front, I think we're strong. I don't think we have to go out and spend any money.
And I agree with you, Torrance and Ricky. And I really think that if Victor Butler can come back and play at a solid level. This guy was never going to be a star. I think some people really put more on him than they should have, but he's a serviceable, solid player. And if you partner him with Hawthorne and Lofton, who are solid players, maybe linebacker isn't as grave a need as some people have made it out to be. at the same time, yes, they definitely need an outside linebacker, but in my opinion, you need a cornerback and a safety more than you need anything else on this defense, because that back end, Seattle showed you build from the back forward, and if you do that, just go back to Deion Sanders, whether he's with Atlanta or with San Francisco, wherever he was, he changed the way people played the game, because he absolutely took away one aspect of the field in every game he played in until he got older.
Kenny, you know, the one thing that you talk about a defensive back, cornerback, safety, they had like 1 or 2 strip fumbles. Even though they were up in sacks, they didn't cause takeaways. Whomever they get, whomever they bring back, they need to do a much better job creating takeaways, and that's paramount to their success.
Well, you know, and that's something you have to work on in training camp and stuff. You know, you get certain coaches that they make sure that we're gonna have a drill, and Terrance will tell you that we got to script that ball, we got to take that ball, we got to make turnover, we got to recover from them. And that's what you got to get to. You got to get to where we're going to be a team that we're going to cause turnover, we're going to get the football from the offense, and we're going to help our offense out. And that's what you got to get to.
It's a skill, Torrance, but you can't just go for the strip and miss a tackle. It requires 2 people, one guy to make the tackle, one guy to strip. You got to get to the football.
Yes, and that is something you train for. Greg Williams, as bad as people like to talk about him as a coach, but that's something they stress at practice, getting the ball out. The players over with that practice, these guys are still jabbing at the ball trying to get it out.
And just like the Seattle game, the first thing the defensive back did when he came to the receiver, knocked the ball out.
Yes, going out the ball.
You know,
right. Charles Tillman does that very well.
When we come back in just a moment, we'll talk about your New Orleans Pelicans and their new building of sorts that they're playing, as well as a big week coming up in New Orleans where the NBA is concerned. On sportsNOLAtv from Don Seafood in Metairie. They're happy, and so are we every time we come here because of that. Look at that food. Look at that service. Don. Our sportsNOLA.com trivia question of the evening. This is a dandy. Well done by our massive research department of one. The NBA All-Star Game will be played in New Orleans Sunday night. Name the 2 players who share the All-Star Game record by being named the game's MVP 4 times. 2 guys, 4 times. There are many potential answers and a lot of prominent players, so that's a good one to chew on and to try to come up with the correct answer a little bit later on. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv from Don Seafood in Metairie. The New Orleans Pelicans have played better of late, their loss in Brooklyn notwithstanding, and the news for the Pelicans across the board has been pretty solid. 2-2 last week with wins against Atlanta and Minnesota, both encouraging because both were come from behind efforts in the 4th quarter, which has been a rarity for the Pelicans. And of course the great news about Anthony Davis replacing Kobe Bryant on the West All-Star team, a well-deserved honor for an outstanding young player who gets better by the game. And then their games this week, long trip, they're already on the road, so they're at Toronto, north of the border. Then they go to lowly Milwaukee on Wednesday. And as mentioned, Brian, they started the road trip in poor fashion. They scored 28 points in the first half at Brooklyn, and they came back to within 9, and it's like, where were these guys? They didn't show up.
You know, Kenny, a perfect example, I think, illustration of this team and its youth is they scored 37 in the 4th quarter to beat Minnesota. Come back from a 10-point deficit. They go on the road, they're on a high, they go to Brooklyn, like Kenny said, they scored 28 in the first half. I think it's the lowest total since '05 in the first half. You know, that's just the growing pains of this club. They're at 22 wins, guys. I mean, that's not bad. They're gonna win, they're gonna beat Milwaukee Wednesday night. They may lose tonight at Toronto. They haven't had much success with the Raptors. But you know what? They're hanging in. They're still 7.5 back from the 8th place team in the Western Conference right now. So you know what? Hey.
Well, these guys get a lot of leeway too, man. Cause I mean, you're just looking at Detroit, man. How Maurice Cheek, that guy 21, man, and 29.
50 games into his coaching job,
and they get rid
in a conference where he's in the playoffs right now.
He's a half game out of 8th place.
So these guys, I mean, they get a big leeway here with the Pelicans. So we need to turn around and make sure we win some ball games.
Yes, that Maurice Cheek, see, They had a 2-game winning streak.
It's the best ball they've had.
A 2-game winning streak and get rid of this guy. But we just have to, pull for these guys. They're playing, they're young, as you said. The young guys, they're playing hard. You got to look at our starting line. How many times that changed throughout this season? It changed a lot. Just to try to keep guys healthy and keep them to play together so we get some growth together. That's what we need, but it's just hard when guys keep going down.
Anthony Davis, let's take a look at what he's been doing. This guy has just been superb for this basketball team, whether he's running the floor, whether he's posting up, whether he's blocking shots, whether he's rebounding. Look, he's a big that can run the floor, Brian. When you're a big that can run the floor, you're going to get cheap baskets like that. And this team, when healthy, they need to get out and run, but that's where he's improved the most on the offensive end. He's deep in the range on his jump shot.
I'll tell you what, his confidence is soaring right now. You can just see it. I mean, his game continues to improve. He's just second year in the league. He's going to play that Friday night, the Rising Stars game or whatever they call it. He's coming back and going to play Sunday in the All-Star game. I'm so glad that he got rewarded for what's been a great 50 games.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, being young and being 6'11" like that, he's way above most of the guys. And just to see him develop the way he's doing, you can build around this guy. And that's what they got to do more. You got a superstar right there. He need about 10, 15 more pounds of weight, and he's going to be one of the best players in the whole NBA.
Yes, this guy definitely brings us star power, and that's something that we were looking for in New Orleans. He brings that star power. He got something that we can build upon, and I think the second half, like you say, this is his come-out party. We're about to see a new Davis grow right before our eyes.
The other news of the week surrounding the Pelicans surrounded the building they play in, and it has a new name, and it's a corporate name, and it's a local corporate name. It's Smoothie King Center, and the sign's already up, and you can appreciate the whole concept. And from my perspective, I think it's great for several reasons. One, gives you the money you're looking for to finance things, which has been a long time coming, frankly. And most importantly, it's financed by a local company whose corporate office is in Metairie. They've chosen to stay here, rebuffing offers to go to bigger cities where they wanted to play Smoothie King on a corporate level. They're here, they're local, they're invested in this community, and they're invested in not only the NBA team, but everyone who uses that facility. So to me, this is a tremendous win-win. Memo to the national guys. Frankly, I don't care whether you like the name Pelicans or not. We do. Frankly, I don't care whether you think Smoothie King is a great brand or a big name or not. Makes no difference to us. We're perfectly fine the way we are and very happy to be who we are. Brian?
Kenny, I hope Smoothie King, maybe they could step up and help pay Jimmy Graham his contract. Since Kenny is a spokesman.
I tell you what, man.
Just a thought.
I started off with Smoothie King. I tell you, when they first started, man, I mean, I've been with them ever since. I mean, they got great product.
Yeah, Kenny, well put. Now.
I just think it's a win-win. I just think it's the right move. And like I said, I don't care. What does it matter what some guy sitting in the Northeast thinks or in the Northwest and making fun of a name, Pelicans? Do you know anything about the culture here at all? And with reference to the name of the building, they're all corporate sellouts, okay? It's simply a matter of profit. It's America. It's what the principles of this country are founded on. It's all about capitalism and raising money and making money and investing. And Smoothie King's not going to spend that money unless they think they're going to get something out of it. They're not just going to give money away. They're not stupid. And if they don't like it 10 years down the road, they're out. Get over it. It's that simple. By the way, I like Power Punch Plus.
Kenny,
Which one
Smoothie King is our
like?
Fortune 500 company.
There you go.
Other cities have big name companies. Smoothie King is one of our outstanding companies in this area.
Yeah, we've got Entergy.
Yeah.
We got Freeport McMoran. We've got Smoothie King. You know what I mean?
Banana slush?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's trying to be a spokesman. That's the whole deal.
All right. The other big news of the week surrounding the Pelicans is the fact that the NBA All-Star Game is here and all the festivities have started. Hey, they're closing the Superdome. Exit already off of Interstate. Be aware. The All-Star Jam Session, Montreal Convention Center, and then the Rising Stars Challenge from the Smoothie King Center. And of course, you get into Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, you have the All-Star Saturday Night, and you have the dunk contest, of course, and Sunday, the 63rd NBA All-Star Game itself, which Anthony Davis will be a part of. Well, we had this back in 2008, Brian. It's great to have it back here again.
Saturday night, the National Basketball Retired Players Association is giving Dale Brown a Lifetime Achievement Award at Harris. Well deserved. Well deserved.
Well deserved as well for Dale Brown, and great to have this event here. It's going to be a big
And Arnie
week.
Philco
And
is-
great for tourism.
yeah.
Great to have Arnie back too.
Yeah.
He's a good man. When we return in just a moment, crowd control. What's appropriate in sports on our hot seat topic as sportsNOLAtv continues from Don's Seafood in Metairie, the steak, the potato, the soft shell crab. Our sportsNOLA.com trivia question of the evening. Again, a good one. You've had time to think about it. A lot of possibilities. Name the two players who share the NBA All-Star Game record of being named the game's MVP 4 times. I'll give you a hint. One of them has local connections. How's that? Kobe Bryant and Bob Pettit of LSU, who had a phenomenal NBA career. How many of you got that right? I wouldn't have gotten it right, and I'll be honest with you. So, I don't know. You guys?
No,
I don't know.
Just
He got
We got
Kobe.
Kobe. He got Kobe.
He got
Yeah.
Kobe.
Rick, yeah, Rick
Atta
got
boy,
Kobe
Rick.
for us.
Yeah.
Way to go, Rick.
All right, Rick.
Way to
Good
hold us
job.
up.
Let's see what Rick can come up with here, but first we're going to check on Brian because our hot seat segment deals with crowd control. The most recent example of an egregious problem is right here at Oklahoma State, where Marcus Smart goes after a fan who said something to him, and he ends up getting suspended 3 games, and it becomes a he said, she said scenario. Or is it? Because there is some audio that would seem to suggest that this gentleman said something not so nice to him, but did not say anything that was racially insensitive, which is what Smart has accused him of doing. Now, we can't hear everything directly, but all the others around the gentleman are supporting what he said as well. So this all gets back to the subject of crowd control in sports. What's appropriate? What's not appropriate? Where do you draw the line? Brian Allee-Walsh, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Doctor. To begin with, college sports is unique. It's different than pro sports where you can have retaining walls and pretty much security throughout a stadium. In college arenas, it's much more closely located to the floor. So there's that proximity, that feeling of intimacy between the fans and players. To me, this is a no-brainer. Marcus Smart is 100% wrong. I don't care if Jeff Orr, the fan in question, who says he's not going to come back to Texas Tech games anymore, he's wrong. But Marcus Smart should be smart enough to get up, pick himself up off the floor, and return to the court. 99.99% college players don't go in after fans. This could have been a situation that could have gotten intensely ugly, okay? And it begins with Marcus Smart's has to be smarter than that. I don't care if he's 18, 25, whatever his age, whatever his position is on the Oklahoma State basketball team, he's got to be smarter than what he did.
Yes, I agree with you. Smart was not smart on this situation right here. As a player, we cannot, entertain what the crowd is doing. You cannot go and you cannot put your hands on. But with that said, I do think they should have some type of restrictions for the fans, definitely in college. With things they say to these young men, these kids and all. And I think a player should be able to point a guy out if a guy is saying something, guy, female, whoever it may be, out there that is saying something that's negative, if it is a racial or whatever it may be, should be able to report that to someone, whether it's to the coaches or someone that they have standing around, the security that they have standing around. They should be able to tell them and point them out, and they should escort those people out. And depending on what they've done, they should let them know that they're not welcome to come back, but be suspended for the rest of the season to participate in any games that are there. I think that's something that should be done. But you expect some rowdy things, but some things that are said, I don't think should happen. Not in games, because you have kids at these games as well. I know I took my kid to one of the Saints games. There was more cursing than anything there, and I told my wife I'm not taking them to any more games unless we're in a controlled environment, unless we're in a suite somewhere, some more controlled controlling, where he doesn't have to sit and take and listen to that type of language or that type of behavior, because it is other people's space that you're invading when you say things like this, not just the players.
Well, you know, looking at the fan, he'll apologize to everyone, and like he said, he won't come to no more games this year, but he'll start coming back next year. But you look at a guy like Smart, this guy got problems. He got anger management problems. It wasn't that incident that happened. He just, right now, he's not feeling himself, and the whole thing about it is, he's out of control, and he need to, you know, the university need to get him back under control. I don't know, you know, where his lies at, but he's been doing stuff all year long. He should have went to the NBA last year. He wouldn't have this problem. I really think that he's more angry because he didn't go to the NBA, because regardless of what a fan do up there, that don't make you react like that. And then you go put your hands on somebody, he know he was 100% wrong. And all the way back to the bench, nobody couldn't tell him that. So it make you think of the guy who played for Blunt. You know, when Blunt punched the guy, these guys just have an anger management problem, and don't come from one incident.
Yes.
Well, when it comes to these circumstances, it's all about the setup, and intimacy is great in sports. People want to buy the seats that are the great seats to be as close to the action as they possibly can. But sometimes intimacy is illogical, or to use another I, it's ill-advised. And it's illuminated, I'm just going to have fun with eyes, when you have a situation like this that occurs, but this isn't the first time. All you have to do is go back to the NBA embarrassment with Ron Artest and the Pacers and the Pistons. Has anything really changed? No. The intimacy is still there. There's not only floor seating, there's access to the floor easily, even at Smoothie King Center. I think about UNO and Lakefront Arena, and they have cement facade surrounding the entire building, and you really can't get on the floor. So that is protective. Now, it doesn't make for a very feasible building for other events to move things around, but it certainly provides security. Lenny Van Gilder on our crew would remember this. I was doing a big college basketball game, UNO at Tulane. Tim Floyd had a 17-game win streak, and UNO was ranked 17th in the nation in the 1990-91 season, and Tulane was really good, and UNO went over there and lost in overtime on a bogus non-call that to this day, Tulane got the benefit of. But what happened when the game ended was scary. Ed Daniels and I are doing the broadcast for UNO, and people came flying over the scores table, knocked us, we had our headsets on, knocked us to the side. Ken Berthelot's on our crew, and I'm sure Ken was calling the game for Tulane. And I can tell you that the late Austin Wilson, the late Fred Lankard called the league office at the time, the Metro Conference, and complained and said, this can't happen again. We got knocked down, our information got knocked off the table. We were in the middle of the broadcast and got knocked down. This stuff can't happen. And you've got to have a better situation. MLB doesn't have this problem because of the setup of the stadiums. The NFL has no problem with this, but basketball has a real problem. I don't know what the answer is, but you sell these expensive seats, you give people access, and you're hoping that they're civil or smart. Clearly, this guy wasn't smart at all. He was more like Maxwell smart. We'll take a time out here. We'll return in just a moment to talk college basketball and more. From Don Seafood on sportsNOLAtv, where the company is great, you need to join us, and that's why. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv, Don Seafood, Veterans Boulevard, between Clearview and Transcontinental in Metairie. We transition. Football, of course, is officially over. You do have arena football starting in March with the New Orleans Voodoo, but the NFL and the college football seasons won't be coming back until August, training camp in late July. So we're talking basketball, and we're talking baseball, and where college basketball is concerned, there's some good news. There's some promising signs amongst the three teams that we follow most closely. LSU on the bubble squarely for the NCAA tournament. They beat a pretty mediocre Auburn team, struggled to do it, but they did win on Saturday. They're 15-7, 6-4 in the SEC. Tulane given up for dead a few weeks ago. They're now 5-4 in Conference USA after a couple of thrilling wins against Charlotte and Marshall this past week. And UNO is a great story. Bryant mentioned Coach Mark Schlesinger earlier. and they're 6-5 in the Southland in their first year back in Division I. And they went 4-1 on a 3-week road swing in their league, which is very impressive. So, Brian, these are encouraging signs. Louisiana hasn't been prominent in college basketball in quite a few years. We're seeing progress here, aren't we?
Absolutely, and you know, I'm going to begin with the SEC team, LSU. Is that LSU is in a position now. They certainly, like Kenny said, they're a bubble team for the NCAA tournament, but they have teams that they can play well and beat coming up that would certainly enhance them. I think they've got to win 2 in the SEC tournament. They play at Kentucky, at Florida, and they've got Georgia to finish out at home. Look, those are 3 teams that they can make some hay, and like I said, if LSU does well in the SEC tournament, they got a shot.
Their frontline talent, Torrance, can match up with anybody. Johnny O'Brien and Jordan Mickey and even Jarrell Martin. That's some pretty good young talent.
Yes, they're young, got a great nucleus of guys there. I think if they, as Brian said, if they can take 2 of these 3 in the SEC, I think they get an opportunity to make the tournament.
Well, I mean, they got a great coach too. I mean, Johnny Jones, he played there. He was up on the Dell. So, I mean, he know what he's doing, and he building that program to be a great program for the future.
They're building it, and it's certainly good news. And Tulane and UNO on the rise. Read Lenny Van Gilder's blog at sportsNOLA.com, all about that. Turning to college baseball, the college baseball season getting underway in earnest. Delgado's already opened, but they'll continue on as they host the Rag Sherman Invitational Thursday through Sunday. They're 3-1 on the year. The others, well, first let's start at the bottom. That is unique. Has that ever happened before? Loyola swept a triple header. That's not a typo. A triple header against Houston Tillotson. Ernie Banks is proud. Let's play 3. They did, and they won the ball. And then, of course, in the Division I level, LSU and UNO, great matchup, back-to-back, one in Baton Rouge, one at Zephyr Field. Tulane opens at home against Arkansas Pine Bluff. And really the intriguing story, Brian, is the pupil and the teacher. Ron Maestri back in the dugout, and his pupil, Paul Metairie, who just loves him and adores him, and they're going against each other.
I hate to show my age, Kenny, but I covered Mace when they had Paul Metairie at UNO. So look, I'll tell you what, Rick Jones, please, Rick, you got a young team this year. They've got a very young team. I think 16 freshmen on the roster. Rick, pull it together. I hope your pitching staff stays healthy, gets healthy, and stays healthy. You need to get back in the tournament.
Saying showing your age. We could just we could just look at you and know your age, Brian. I'd like to see Tulane against Arkansas Pine Bluff. A swag school would like to take a look at that game.
I'll tell you what, man. It's always LSU always have a great baseball team, and Tulane's starting to be great. So I'm looking forward to this game.
Well, I think that the matchup with LSU and UNO is great. It's going to be wonderful to watch and see what happens. No expectations for UNO. They're going to have to start over in baseball. But with Ron Maestri there and the new facility coming out of the ground, it's going to really help them unquestionably. But LSU, they have another shot to get back to Omaha. 3 left-handed pitchers among their 4 starters. Keep an eye on that. That's tough to match up with. When we return in just a moment, we'll take a look at what's to come as we continue with Sports NOLA TV from Don's Seafood in Metairie. Use the hot stuff. Enjoy the potatoes. Don's Seafood, 4801 Veterans Boulevard in Metairie between Clearview and Transcontinental. Don's has stood the test of time because it's based on traditional family recipes. It's mouth-watering today as they were when Don's first opened in 1934. Enjoy great seafood the South Louisiana way at the newly renovated Don's Seafood Restaurant, 4801 Veterans Boulevard. We're excited about our first NBC Bank Prep Showcase. It's basketball, and it's a great rivalry. St. Augustine and Brother Martin. That's a Tuesday night game from Bob Collins Gymnasium, live, streaming on sportsNOLA.com, and tape delayed on WHNO Channel 20, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. You'll get to see some great players, Jordan Cornish of Brother Martin, Bryce Washington of St. Augustine, among others. Ken Trahan, Sports NOLA TV from Don's Seafood. You want seafood? How about some great, fresh, delicious, hot, steaming, awesome crawfish? Brian can't keep his hands off of it. Ricky can't keep his mouth off of it. As for Torrance, he's going to steal the whole tray. And why not? And the corn's great. I want the potatoes. I got dibs on that. You're killing it, man. And it's all good. Delicious from Don's. And you can get the crawfish. They're in season. They're working. They're only going to get better. And tell me, give me an editorial comment. Come on.
I'm telling you, outstanding. And you can wash it down with one of the many, many beverages here at Don's. Outstanding.
It's really good. It's really good. Ricky's just staring.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Ricky's
now,
just
Ricky, that's got a little
silent.
bite
He's
now.
silent.
That's got a little bite.
Yeah, wait till the cameras off.
Yeah, that's got a little bite.
It's all good. Just looking for something to sip on with it.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm telling you, baby.
That aroma is
Yeah.
coming through.
Yeah, that's-
Just another one of the great examples
Yes.
of the outstanding fare here at Don's Seafood. We told you about the nightly specials a little bit earlier, and of course they got some staples on the menu as well. I love the seafood salad. I ate at Don's yesterday, true, and I had the seafood salad with crab, with crawfish, with shrimp, and everything else under the sun. Remoulade dressing. You talk about good, it's really good. It's just one of the many items that you can find here at Don's. And you guys like it too. I know you do.
Absolutely.
Love it, and love it that it's hot. Can you see the steam coming off? Oh, the aroma.
Thank goodness for the steam.
Yeah.
Yes.
The good news is
Can't
we're
wait till
about
the
done.
settle. Can't wait till the
That's
settle.
gonna come up on us. It's all good.
Kenny, can we mention real quick?
Real quickly.
Rickey Jackson is open. His school is opening up Friday at 12 on the West Bank, the Rickey Jackson Hope Community Center. Congratulations, Ricky.
Way to go, Rick.
Way to go, Rick.
Way to go, buddy.
Way to go, Rick.
That's Ricky.
That's for
A
all
Hall of
people.
Famer in more ways than one. Ricky, keep up the good work. Thank you, buddy. Brian, thank you.
Kenny, always a pleasure.
Torrance, eat some crawfish. For the entire crew, I'm Ken Trahan, saying thanks for joining us and be a good sport. God bless you one and all. Rounding third and heading home. So long.
Nice.